time flying, folks? It's Wednesday, July 10th, and you're locked to the Sportsline Podcast on the CHCH News Podcast site. I'm Bubba O'Neill. Hey, as you know, the focus, athletes, executives, officials, teams, broadcasters, who all hail from Southern Ontario and are making names for themselves. Today's guests, true builders of a sport that's one of the fastest growing across the province. You know, in so many ways and for so many age groups, women's football has become a high-performance sport with athletes that can compete on the world stage. For the second year in a row, Football Ontario is entering two teams, not one, two teams, into the Under-18 Women's National Tackle Championship. Setting the stage, the hard work of the coaches, board of directors, and in particular, Football Ontario's Director of Development and Administration, Emily Todd, who joins us today. Emily, it's your second appearance because things are happening in women's football and in particular Football Ontario. Thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for having me back.
I'll tell you, since the last time we talked, there's been some tournaments. You have told me that this is actually the busiest time of the season for you, but somehow, some way, you were able to slip away and get a little vacation time in. Did you have a good time?
I did. I went to Calgary to visit my best friend. We went camping, hiking, so it was nice to get away before all the national tournaments start to take place.
Well, this is good. And I think in this time, somehow, some way, I have noticed, because I think you've been charting this on your social media platforms, that you got a bit of a golf game going now. What's up?
We're trying some new hobbies. It can't be football 24/7, so I'm trying some new things. Just going to the driving range, just start to figure it out, so I'm enjoying it.
Well, you got your swing down here. It looks as we're charting your progress. Look at you. Don't be embarrassed. But you're better than me. And you're hitting from the left side like I am as well too. This is good.
We're learning. I'm trying to take some progress videos, so one day if I get really good at it, we can look back on these and we can laugh when we get better.
Didn't that go right down the pipe like 300 yards?
Of course it did, yeah. It was great.
Fabulous. Hey, you know what? We all, as any sport, we got to start and we have to get out there and try, first of all, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Another thing that I did notice, too, is that, and I think this is probably a real proud moment for you, that someone has invested in talking to children through a book form of women getting involved in the sport of football, and that's got to be really cool for you. And you were featured in that book as well too.
Yeah, so it's a picture book. It's called Big Dreams. The author is Alexandra Hoffman. She's from Alberta, and she reached out to myself, Coach Taylor McIntyre, Tanya Henderson, and Nadia Ducour. Tanya and Nadia are both in the CFL coaching right now, so she reached out to us just to have us be a part of the book and the process. The book is about a young girl who dreams about playing tackle football, and despite some people maybe around her that don't fully support it because it is traditionally a men's sport, she pursues her dreams and plays tackle football. So that's I was really excited to be a part of that because that's what my dream has always been, is to be a part of football and to be a part of sport. So now that there's a book like this for young girls to read and, see that it's possible is really exciting.
And you were on one of the early broadcasts of the Sportsline Podcast, so it's great to have you back, obviously. Just for people who didn't listen to that podcast, you have these, and I think especially where your age group is, it hadn't really sunk in a lot that, hey, women have interest in football, not just hanging out and watching with the guys, kind of want to get involved. And that was your case too, right?
Yeah, for sure. So when I was in high school, again, I didn't play a ton of football. It's sort of been in my family. My uncle, Coach Mike McDonald, is a longtime coach of the Guelph Griffins. And, I would go to those games and got really invested in it and just started learning the rules and became a fan. And that's sort of how I got into where I am today, is just having a huge passion for it. I played like one season of flag football, but just stuck with it and really found a community of other women that love football as much as I do, like coaches, athletes, athletic therapists, officials, like from every angle, they just love football like I do. So it's been really nice to find that.
And that must be neat for you, again, just a lover of the sport. That's where it starts, as you said, and you branched out and you just kind of associated yourself with so many different aspects of the sport, like you said, even right down to trainers and that kind of thing. When you all kind of came together, did you kind of find yourselves as kind of like, hey, we're leaders here here in a sense that, we're starting something from the ground floor?
A little bit, yeah. I think, last time I was on the podcast was to promote our women's football conference that we hosted in Hamilton for the second year. And that's really what that conference was for, was to kind of bring together all of these women in different positions, like myself with Football Ontario, or U Sport coaches or CFL coaches, however anyone's involved in football. And just, again, to show that next generation that it is possible. And I see a lot of our younger athletes as leaders as well, because, again, like I wasn't playing tackle football when I was their age. A lot of them play on their men's tackle team, so they're really inspirational, and it's kind of why I keep doing what I do, is to make sure that they have opportunities going forward.
Well, those opportunities come from hard work of people of yourself, and I guess the question would be, that's Football Ontario, sort of a governing body, but to someone that doesn't know, who is Football Ontario? What are they?
Yeah, for sure. So Football Ontario is our provincial sport organization for football. We're a part of Football Canada, so all of the other provinces have a football organization as well that represent their provinces. And we sort of, like you said, we govern football in Ontario, mainly youth. We're starting to get more into the senior space as well, but we kind of oversee like the youth tackle leagues, the youth flag leagues, Ontario Women's Football League, which is in their second year. So all of those community teams. And then we, have partnerships with our 3 CFL teams in Ontario. We connect with the high schools. So just any way we can kind of govern and mandate football, and make sure it continues to grow on the flag and tackle side for men and women.
Well, I love the word, and it's so simple, 4 letters, grow. And that there has been incredible growth in this, and I love the fact that you have been able to get in contact with the Argonauts, get in contact with the Red Blacks, and of course here hometown Tiger Cats as well too. That can go a long way to growing what you guys are trying to mandate.
Yeah, definitely. And we've had, in the past several events with our CFL partners, which is great. But again, to have them on board and, to have them come out and support events, whether it be, like player appearances or, even just being able to partner with the Ticats and bring people into that stadium, like that's a huge opportunity for young people to go and have a football practice or play a tournament at Tim Hortons Field. And, we're really grateful to them for that. And again, like you said, it does continue to grow it, because then they see themselves, eventually being a part of that organization potentially.
So there's a Football Ontario, there's a Football Canada. When you look at yourselves as a football organization, in a sense, and I've talked to Tiger Cat players over the years where they actually told me that their moms played football, right? So where are you guys in terms of a Football Canada, Football Ontario? Is it really ahead in the States, or is there, that kind of growth is obviously started in the States, but is that something you mirror after, or are you guys in communication with them as well too, the several different organizations in the United States?
Yeah, for sure. So we definitely take some inspiration from them because of how big flag football especially is in the States. We kind of look at social media wise or graphics wise what they're doing to draw as many people into the sport as they can. And we have some teams that go and compete, again, from the flag football side, that go and compete in those tournaments in the States. Like I know there's one that's called the We Run the World tournament. It's a girls only flag football tournament. So a bunch of our Ontario teams go and compete in that. So again, trying to draw inspiration from them. Obviously, they're much larger in size, population, all of that. Sure. But yeah, definitely something that we're striving towards for sure.
Tackle football, and this may be tough for you in some ways too. There's some stigmas that have come up, especially in the last decade or so, with medical studies, etc. And I know professional leagues are doing their best to protect players, protect quarterbacks in particular, who have become the stars of the game. Is there any challenges or resistance that you are facing in the fact that at times football can be a dangerous sport?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's always going to be that type of challenge, in any type of contact sport. But, we stay up to date on research, making sure, players are getting the appropriate rest that they need, even in these tournaments. Like our U18 men's tackle is in Regina right now for Canada Cup. But, it's mandated throughout that tournament. They have 3 game days with 2 rest days in between. Coaches know to, limit their reps and that sort of thing. And I think another big step that we've taken in Ontario especially is focusing on that mental health and wellness piece as well. One of our staff, JT Sui, is amazing at doing this. He's like a wellness coach, so he does presentations and talks with our teams about, being mentally prepared and, being okay to, show your emotions and make sure that sort of thing's set before you step on the field. And I think that's been a really big game changer for us as well.
Speaking of game changers, I love that your organization have shown, and this is Football Ontario, Football Canada expanded as well too, that you are empowering women. You are influencing and acceptance of all genders, colors, ethnicities. I see that you just recently hired the likes of a Joshua Brown and Jamie Lee as a head coach and general manager as well too. That's got to be big steps for you guys as well.
I think it is for sure. And I think back to our athletes and the different communities that our Team Ontario teams represent, because those teams are made up of athletes from across the province and different communities, different ethnic backgrounds, different gender identities. To see different people in those leadership positions is really important. You mentioned Josh and Jamie, who are amazing. They are Team Black for our women's tackle. Our head coach of our Team Ontario Red, Coach Carly Manners, she's from different communities, so athletes are able to look up to her as an inspiration. She also coaches with University of Toronto Varsity Blues. She coaches Peel Panthers girls tackle, so she's got experience with men's tackle, women's tackle. She's an athlete herself, so really important for us in terms of growing the game, making sure there's diversity, inclusion, equity, all of those things. Those are the core pillars of Football Ontario.
And we can get rid of an opinion and a stigma as well, too, because we are seeing it in all sports, not just football, that women are becoming coaches and in leadership positions. And can you just please tell, because I know what you're going to say here, that the guys do listen to the women too, especially in coaches' positions.
They really do. I know, again, I'll go back to Coach Carly because she helps coach in Peel. She coaches some of the boys' teams and goes out to those practices. They listen to people of authority, and especially, in someone of, her caliber and her expertise, she knows what she's talking about. She's played tackle football herself. So just giving them that opportunity to get them on the field and show what they know, their respect is given. Yeah. I
love hearing that.
Yeah.
Because it's someone, you think a coach would, like in the NBA, when a woman's, are you kidding me? Yeah. You've got a lot going on. You talked about this is a real busy time for you right now. I'll start off with this. Right now, the under-18 women's national championships are going to be happening very soon in New Brunswick. And you have 2 teams going.
We have 2 teams. Yeah. So last year we put in 2 teams because we hosted the tournament in Ottawa. And to round out the tournament structure, to give it 8 teams, we decided to put in a second team. Again, because of our size, because of the amount of talent that we have here in Ontario, it made sense for us. And we're doing it again this year, so I'm really excited.
Will you compete well?
I think we will. So there's 2 divisions for this tournament, sort of like the top 4 teams and then the lower 4 teams across the country. So we have our Team Red is in that first tier and our Team Black is in that second tier.
That is outstanding that you have that kind of participation, that you can put together the 2 teams into this tournament. Okay, so then you move right along, and there's the Football Ontario Flag Provincial Championships, and they're happening right around the corner in Georgetown.
They are. So those are taking place August 10th and 11th in Georgetown. August is going to be our flag football month in Ontario. We have actually Ontario Summer Games taking place the week before where flag football is participating, and then the provincial championships for flag, men's, women's, all different divisions, ages, just as many people as we can to really show the growth of flag football.
That's what blew me away, is when I looked further into this tournament and thought, oh my goodness, you can be 18, you can be 14, you can be a guy, a little guy, you can be a little girl, or you can be the girls and the guys playing together. What's that like?
Yeah, so I think it's fun. I know, as I mentioned before, on the tackle side, there's some girls that like playing with the boys, which I don't know if I could ever do it. So good for them. But,
right. But it's flag.
Yeah. So it's flag. Some of them love, playing in that co-ed space, but it's also nice to give them the opportunity to play, on a girls only team or a guys only team. So again, just really providing as many opportunities as we can for that sport, because across Ontario, we have, thousands of flag athletes. So just wanting to give them that opportunity to all come together, celebrate flag in Ontario Ontario at that provincial championship.
Now, because of the challenges that we talked about in terms of concussions and that kind of stuff, injuries, do you feel like flag is becoming there's a huge growth there?
I think we're getting there for sure. I've seen more and more people switching to flag football as their primary sport, which is interesting. And that's why, these types of tournaments that we run, we want to make them as large as we can so that people can see, when they're putting their kids into their first sport, it's typically, like soccer or hockey. We want flag football to be one of those options for sure. And then again, with the growth, we keep saying it, the growth in Ontario and, leagues like OWIFA, the Ontario Women's Intercollegiate Flag Association, people can play flag football into their university and college career, and then flag's also an Olympic sport, so then there's an Olympic pathway for them to keep going. So there really is again, just opportunities are endless for people to keep playing it.
And if you become the kingpin in Ontario, there's national opportunities, and you have a friend or a colleague that you could bring her in.
Yeah, for sure. So Olivia Go is our manager of flag for Football Ontario, lives here. She can talk a little bit about flag, and she can speak on provincials as well, because she's kind of managing both of those events for us from the Football Ontario side.
Olivia, what's up?
Hey, how's it going? I'm glad to be on the call.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're up to? And obviously, Emily's talking about it from a provincial standpoint. Let's hear about what's going on with the Nationals.
Yeah, so in my role, I've had the opportunity to help develop and build football in Ontario. That was a key core goal of Football Ontario, is to start developing that flag side of things. And so going into this national event that we are hosting at the end of this month of August, we're trying to bring in all of our top flag club programs. So these can be programs from within the community that train and travel and compete all the time to come together in this kind of large hurrah in flag. And that is across all of those age divisions and genders that you saw on this, that was shared on the screen earlier. And as part of that, we're looking at trying to support up to 160 teams all in one space, all in Brampton, Ontario, playing flag in an elite division and within an open division for all of those who want to be involved in the sport and engaged. And that includes bringing in community members within the city of Brampton, as well as outside of that want to be active and engaged in the process of flag and its growth within this country.
Yeah, well, looking at it because it is a national championship, I mean, it's got to have so many people that are involved in putting together such an outtaking like this with so many teams. How difficult is that?
I mean, I'm always impressed by what the different provincial sport organizations across Canada can do to support and develop their teams and club programs and getting into this province and being able to be a part of this experience. On top of that, having groups and partners that are slowly, we're working with them behind the scenes to make this event possible, like NFL Canada, the city of Brampton, in executing such a huge event. I think this is going to be a massive success and a massive growth for the sport. And what's most important as part of that is the development and work being done on the ground to bring these athletes, train these athletes to now be a part of these club level sport opportunities in flag within the country.
Putting together a national championship like this, I mean, from where you stand, this has got to be an incredible opportunity of growth for the organizations and all over the country as well, too, and opening up the sport to so many different people.
Yeah, I mean, that's the exciting part about flag, right? We can get several athletes on the field, whether they're men or women in the sport, who just want to engage and play in co-ed in all different types of divisions. Having partners, UA Flag is another big group that's a part of this, to help execute and bring in teams together, bringing clubs together is a big component of that. And it's definitely not an easy feat, but Football Canada and Football Ontario really prioritizing what flag could look like for the future of this sport and for accommodating the growth that's happening pretty rapidly within the last year.
Emily, when you put together something like this, I mean, the kids got to stay somewhere. They got to like, are you billets or their hotels? Like, this is going to be a huge undertaking with so many different athletes. Where are they all coming from?
Yeah, for sure. So we have some hotel partners, which is really great. Previously, when we've had these events, they've been on different college or university campuses, but we've got some hotel partners in Brampton, which is great. And then fortunately for us, all of our Ontario teams are pretty close, which is nice. But we're still actively looking for, like sponsors, vendors, volunteers, like anyone that wants to be involved in this process and in this huge flag tournament. Like Liv said, like please reach out to us because we want to make it as big as we can.
I think that's a great opportunity. And Olivia, I mean, I got to ask about your background. Were you on the turf as well too?
Yeah, I'm always training in football. I mean, Emily talked about her hobby in golf, but mine is still football on and off the field at all hours of the day. For example, where I run a regional program in London, Ontario, where we're actually traveling out to Nashville next week, and we're one of those teams engaging in the U.S. space for the sport and putting Canada on the map amongst many other across this country, including quite a few teams and colleagues of mine in Quebec. I've been a part of the sport for all my life. I was fortunate to grow up in the region of Peel in Mississauga, Ontario, and we had a 7v7 flag league in high school for varsity girls. So I think that was the opening door. And I'm talking like 12, 15 years ago to age myself. I had that opportunity, and now seeing it at all levels in the club space as well is really important. And then just as part of that, I wanted to continue playing the sport when I went to university and college. I'm finishing up my PhD at Western currently, and as in doing so, I created and helped with the help of many other leaders across this province in an intercollegiate football association for women, and that's what Emily had mentioned, the Ontario Women's Intercollegiate Flag Football Association. And we have 15 universities and colleges as a part of that group, and we're able to compete at the highest level with many of our athletes recognized nationally and provincially on different teams.
So the question is, where was the inspiration for you? This, as you said, football has been a part of your life. Like, is there a favorite player? Is it your mom, your dad? Like, what is the inspiration where this all came from?
I don't know, actually. I think about this all the time because I'm like, my main sport, I started off as a swimmer. When I moved, I switched to volleyball and I played that competitively, went off to Western with the hopes of playing volleyball. That was my sport, but I had flag as part of that throughout my whole career. I was also a good track athlete. And what I realized and what inspired me to be a part of flag is that, hey, I mean, I can play this sport as good as any other guy could. I mean, there's a lot of men and boys in this space, and I'm like, I want to be playing out on the field with them. Why can't I? And I love flag because it helps bring in all the elements of all my sport backgrounds that I had previously in volleyball and track and in all other sports. And I think that's just had me hooked, and I've just been addicted to it since, and the community that it brings. And some of my best friends have come out of this space, and I couldn't be more appreciative of how the sport has made me become the individual I am today and the people that surround me in it.
Well, Olivia, I think it's outstanding, amazing inspiration. I will use that word. I'll go that deep, that you've been able to immerse yourself in what is my favorite sport. I love all sports, but football, I mean, that's where it all started for me in terms of my love. And to see someone like yourself building the sport and building it again for all ages, genders, abilities, doing flag football for those that don't want the contact. Congratulations to you. I would say good luck to you in running this national championship, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having us, and be sure to come on out. We're in Brampton the 23rd to the 25th, so lots of flag football to see.
Thank you so much there. Hey, Emily, what an outstanding colleague that you have there. Yeah,
I'm really fortunate to have Liv. She came on to our staff in April, I think. And again, you can just hear her passion for the sport and the fact that, she's played it, she's coached it, she's, helped to build a league with that OWIFA group is amazing. And she's such a good, role model, again, for young girls to look up to who want to play the sport.
So where do we grow from here? Like we need continual growth, and what would you be is there something else? I mean, obviously you're reaching all kinds of goals with national, provincial championships. You're in the local communities. What's next? What's that next button or place that you want to take this organization to?
Yeah, I think for us, as I mentioned, we have a ton of flag football organizations under Football Ontario. I think it's, continuing to grow and develop those. We have new leagues and teams that are still starting to form and wanting to get and be a part of flag football, which is really good. So I think the next step for us is to continue to have, maybe like recreational programs compared to competitive and travel teams. So, and then just making sure that's widespread across Ontario. Because we are so big, that's great, but it's also one of our challenges is making sure we have people in, every pocket of the province and every community to run flag, make sure it's accessible. And as Liv mentioned, one of our great partners, NFL Canada, they provide us with like NFL flag kits so that we can give them into schools and communities that need them, just to make sure that, again, the sport is accessible and as many people can play it as possible.
Well, you're kind of a local person here. What's our area like? Are we doing well?
I think we are doing well. We've got some really strong talent in Niagara. The Niagara Nitros, they're a really strong program.
Nitros, I love it.
They do really well. They compete at some of the U.S. tournaments and do well. Liv mentioned as well Under Armour Flag Canada, who's partnered with us for the provincials and nationals to help us put that together. Same thing, they've got recreational programs, women and girls only programs. They've got travel teams. So people are doing really well with flag, and I think, again, just making sure it's accessible across the province is our goal for sure.
Well, we love successful stories. We love successful leagues and the sport doing well. And Emily, you're doing a wonderful job. You and your board of governors, obviously the hard work is paying off. We're seeing more tournaments. Everyone's getting more involved. The numbers that you were talking about are just off the chart. And and this has happened, I would say, relatively in a very small time. So congratulations to what you're doing. Continued success. We're here for you always. When stuff's going on, we want to know, we want to promote it, we want the word out there. So thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Spectacular. Hey folks, we love talking sports from a local, provincial, and national perspective. And if you do know of an athlete, team, or event to promote, the Sportsline Podcast want you. Please hit that thumbs up, like, and subscribe button, and be sure to check out all the informative and entertaining podcasts we do have to offer here at CHCH. For the outstanding folks behind the scenes, that's you too, Laura, that make the Sportsline Podcast possible. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you tomorrow.